Hey lads, it's Spicy Gushers back, but with r/retailhell. Let's get into it. I don't like paying sales tax. This happened I think a few months ago. It was starting to get late and we'd be closing in another hour. I'm pretty tired from the day's events, so you can imagine by this point the last thing I want is a complicated transaction. Entered entitled lady. She comes up to me clearly stating, "I'd like to return these and repurchase them. I forgot I was in mass and I have to pay sales tax, so I'd like my money back." Oh, I could already tell the kind of person she was right away. I would have loved to have been a smart butt, stating I went to Florida twice and paid sales tax there, but you don't see me crying about it. But instead, I looked at the two softwares with a bit of a grimace on my face, thinking I'd have to do 4 transactions. Thinking back, 4 was overthinking, even though she had 2 receipts. I keep forgetting that you can do returns from separate transactions in one return transaction. I wasn't trusting the system today, as it likes getting picky with me. Sometimes it'll do one fluid transaction despite the items, sometimes it won't. When she asks what's wrong, I tell her what I'm thinking would happen so she'd know what to expect. I prefer to let my customers know ahead of time of what's going to occur instead of as we're going along. She wasn't happy with that and was already fuming like it was an insult. "What do you mean 4 transactions?" I explain again. The system gets picky with me, so I'm thinking because these softwares are a tech item, it may make me do multiple transactions. "That's insane. I want my money back." Ugh, here we go. She wasn't gonna get it. I start up the return, going quiet, thinking maybe she'd calm down and forget it. But as I get things going, I'm fed the most famous line I've been getting since I got hired. "You're very rude. I'm gonna talk to your manager." The very second I'm called rude by a customer like that, I go quiet and don't bother conversing further. There's no point to me. I don't know if it's a withdrawal thing or not, but it's just easier to not argue back. I know myself, and I'm too good at snapping like a crocodile. I don't bother to look at her as I go through with the return repurchase and find the system's gonna be nice and do everything in one fluid transaction. The both of us were quiet as it's complete and she gets her few bucks back, but she wasn't about to let me off, carrying her entitlement further. She goes, "I want to see your manager, unless you think you can explain yourself." I could see our MOD, who was actually from another of our stores, and being at this one was still new, standing over at our tech services conversing with a coworker. I wasn't about to get her involved in this. So I explained again. I thought I was going to have to do more than 1 transaction. The system proved me wrong. I can't remember if she said anything else or not, but in a way, I still had the last laugh. She doesn't know my name because I forgot my name tag. Alright, that's pretty tame compared to other stories I've read, but still, I guess some people don't know that some jobs are firmly in the hands of technology, and technology isn't always that dependable. Boss accuses me of lying about having norovirus and fabricates a story about me. Buckle up, dudes, because this one is just infuriating beyond measure. New to the sub, go easy on me. This is a story of one of the major causes of me quitting my old job. During my time at university, I worked part-time in a memorabilia and generic movie, video, game, TV merchandise store. While the co-workers were mostly lovely and, bar a few choice stories, the customers were fine. There had been several many, and not so many, incidences with the manager, referred to henceforth as MB or Mean Boss, before and after I got there. Now, despite being a dinky 5'1" gal, I'm a pretty tough cookie. Over my almost 3 years working there, I was only ever sick twice. Once with a sinus infection, which was weirdly fine with MB, and the second time with norovirus, which was not fine. The night before, from about 9 p.m. to 6 a.m., I've been unable to keep anything down, had intense stabbing pains in my abdomen that made it hard to breathe, and I had a pretty dizzying fever. I managed to grab about an hour's sleep or so early morning and then phoned my boss to explain that I'd be unable to come into work. Even if I'd been better by then, I'd had no sleep, and you're not meant to go into work until 48 hours later with infectious viruses like norovirus, as you can still be a carrier. I'm there, miserable and in my dressing gown, with some lukewarm water to sip and my cat for company, clutching a bucket between my legs and sitting on the sofa. Pretty pathetic, right? I get through to him and explain. There's a long pause. Then, this baffling conversation happens. MB. Well, I'm going to be honest here. I don't believe you. Me, still very sleep deprived and sick. What? I don't. MB, in a snide and accusatory tone. You know what I think? I think you were up all night studying for your finals because you've slacked off, lazy, and now you're making excuses. You're lazy. At this point, I'm baffled for a number of reasons, including the fact that he knows I don't have finals. We'd have several idle conversations about my game art and design course. You submit a body of work done over the term. There are no exams or finals or studying of that kind required. He double knows this because one of my colleagues is on the same course. Me, now very emotional and confused. Sir, please, I've been up all night. MB, aha, so you admit it. I knew you were studying. Me, no, being sick in the toilet. Please, sir, stop. At this point, my memory gets a lot more hazy as I really needed to lie down, but he basically continued to lay into me before I eventually just started crying and hung off. I ended up with it for several days, but was good to go by my next part-time shift. It was kind of embarrassing for him when I got back, mostly because 2 others had been struck down by it, and I myself had clearly lost a lot of weight. I also found out the MB had been slacking me off and nasty talking about me, and making that call to me in front of my colleagues and the customers. My colleagues tried to stand up for me, but he'd gone on and on about basically what a terrible person I am. I'm pretty sure he'd almost convinced himself of his own bizarre story though, because even when I got back, he continued to make jabs at me. He never apologized. TLDR, boss accuses me of lying about being sick, rants in front of customers and colleagues about me, and fabricates a story about me he knows or should know is impossible. Ooh, that one's bad. I don't get why that boss would do that other than out of being a mean person in general, because there was even other things that backed up OP's claim of being sick, but the boss still kept bullying them even after that. Yeah, I would quit if that happened to me too. What do you mean we're banned? Brackets equals don't have to read. So I'm sure many of the retail workers have either heard this before or at least experienced something close to it. I wasn't sure where to put this post because it could also probably go in r/entitled parents, but let's be real, that sub is a mess right now. Yeah, I kind of agree with that. TLDR at bottom. Background. This is a story that actually happened to my mom, who has been working in a huge retail store for about 10 years now. She got a commemorative plaque after 5 and is now an assistant manager, but at the time of this story, she was only a department manager. My mom had to work most weekdays and weekends and would get either Monday or Tuesday off depending on what weekend she worked. This weekend, my mom was working a Sunday morning shift, which are the worst for that store because that's when all the soccer moms go grocery shopping. The day started off normal and hectic, seeing as how our town is full of entitled parents and neckbeards because said parents sheltered them too much and they never moved out or got girlfriends. Mom is restocking the small shelves of candy and the stuff next to the register when this family of 7, 2 parents and 5 kids, waltzed into the store. Saying these people smelled horrible was an understatement. My mom claims that the stench was so horrid that the store manager of the time, God bless her, she was amazing, wanted to kick them out. She didn't because it was against store policy. Now these people didn't seem to be too much of a problem when they walked in because they stayed close together and didn't let the kids run wild for about 6 minutes. Most of the kids didn't cause issues except one. This little boy, who was around age 6 and was filthy to the bone, was the biggest troublemaker. He ran around the store, knocked stuff off of shelves, and was just a general annoyance to the whole store. The parents tried their best to clean up after his destructive behavior, but at some point during their shopping, they either forgot about him or gave up. My mom's co-worker, who we shall call Jeff for sake of privacy, was instructed to keep an eye on the kid so he didn't break anything super valuable or dangerous, like glass. He follows the kid around the store for about 20 minutes, reporting what was happening over the walkie on his vest. Everyone could hear him, so if he needed help, they would know what was happening and where to find him. The kid eventually found his way to the ice cream aisle of freezers and decided he was hungry. He opened a freezer, grabbed an easy-open chocolate ice cream tub, scooped some out with his filthy hands, and ate it. He put the lid back on the mostly full container and put it back in the freezer. I think it's safe to say that the store manager was more than happy to confront the family about the child's obnoxious behavior. She grabbed the tub after walking all the way across the store and searched for the family. She found them on their way to checkout with 2 carts full of groceries. This is the conversation that followed. Summarized since this is already super long. Manager: Ma'am, I need to speak with you a moment. It's about your son. Mother: Yes? Manager: One of my employees caught your son eating ice cream straight out of the container, then put it back. You need to pay for it. Now this mother was not having it. She didn't want to pay for the ice cream, claimed her son never ate any, and got pissy when the manager told her they caught him on security cameras doing it. She continued to refuse paying and made the claim that, "It's just ice cream? Can't you just replace it? It isn't that much. I'm in food stamps." Manager wasn't giving in, and woman eventually paid after being at the store for a total of 2 hours. Manager took great pride in letting her know she wasn't welcome back by banning her from our location. TLDR, mom and horrible smelling family came to the store shopping for groceries and got pissy when told she had to pay for the ice cream her goblin opened and ate when she let him run wild in the store. Manager banned her from that location after getting her to pay. Wow, this area sounds awful. Like if this person's town is filled with people like this, I wouldn't know how these employees would keep patient and keep their heads while dealing with them. Goodness. Had an old farmer throw a temper tantrum today. So this little incident happened today. For a little background, I'm a team leader at a farm supply store, and we have a lot of farmers who come in and get tax exemptions for stuff they use on their farms, feed, tools, etc. We were having issues with our system today, so we couldn't properly do tax exemptions or transactions. Whatever, they can just write it down on their forms when they're doing their taxes. So I'm up at the register, grabbing the stepladder, not really paying attention, when suddenly this old man who looks an awful lot like Wilford Brimley, I'll show him right here, starts yelling at my cashier. She looks at me, and I'm staring this guy down because he's being an absolute child. "Well, that's a bunch of crud. I'm not paying tax." He starts muttering something, and his wife is clearly embarrassed, and she says something to him. "Well, I just find it real funny how people can't do anything these days without all these dang machines. I can tell you right now what to do. You look at the tax, and you take it off the total." My cashier gives me another uncomfortable look, and I look at the transaction screen. His total tax was 91 cents. Meanwhile, good old Wilford has furiously swiped his credit card. Now, our registers are one of those picky sorts that you can't do much of anything until the cashier actually goes to the payment screen. He swiped it quicker than she could do so, and so she calmly asked him if he could swipe his card again. "You can't even accept a credit card now, or what?" My cashier was being a real champ and keeping super calm and professional about things. The wife had wandered closer to the door, but she spoke up and said something to him again. Cashier hands him his receipt, and he and his wife leave. My cashier, the guy in line behind them in line, and I all exchanged looks of disbelief. My cashier later told me that she was proud of herself for not reaching in her pocket and handing him $1, since he's so torn up over 91 cents. So, sorry for that wildly awful accent. I just thought of cowboy-sounding dudes when it said farmers. But anyways, wow, 91 cents to make somebody go into a crazy tizzy like that. I find that so hilarious. Do you have a doctor's note? No. Stand up. This is a story of why I left Dollar Tree and why I will never work for the franchise again. Before I get into it, let's start with a question. We all have some kind of health issue, right? Maybe a disability. I'm sure you're able to work something out with your workplace about it, especially if it's temporary. I've been having back problems since I was a kid. It's never been very strong at all. And now, without further ado, it's the holidays and Dollar Tree is slammed. It's a small store in a small strip mall, and people are buying stocking stuffers, last minutes, or just getting stuff. I've managed to make myself load bags quickly and neatly, which a lot of people praised. We're busy start to finish. Endless people in sight. It's nighttime, we'll be closing very soon, and we're down to the last two people who were shopping together. I take one, my MOD, manager on duty, takes the other. I finish with the customer and sit down to rest my back. It was screaming by this point. MOD, Senaki, stand up. Me, can't, my back's killing me. MOD, stand up, sitting down is unprofessional. Me, my back is killing me, just let me rest it. Thinking about it, I love how sitting down is unprofessional, but not arguing in front of the customer. It's my next shift, and I find I'm still having back problems from the holiday rush. With it being slower, I sit down in between customers, but still keeping a vigilant eye out. The same MOD catches me. MOD, Senaki, I told you not to sit. Me, my back hurts, it's only for a minute. MOD explodes. Do you have a doctor's note? No, so stand up. Excuse me? This is coming from an MOD I really liked too. I thought she and I got along well, but here she is screaming at me like I committed a crime or something. So enter the malicious compliance part of this story, even though it was greatly needed anyway. I went to my doctor and told her about my back issues. Turns out I needed physical therapy to get it back in check, and I was able to obtain a doctor's note, clearly stating I will need to sit for a short period of time. So I present it to the GM. GM, it doesn't say how long of a break you need. Me, yes it does. GM, well, how long is a short break? Me, I don't know, a minute or longer? Wow, are you kidding? Doctors never specify a time frame. So again, it's my next shift with the same MOD, in between customers again, and I sit to rest my back. Now, you'd think the doctor's note would quiet her down, right? Wrong. MOD, Senaki, what did I tell you? Me, I have a doctor's note, just like you wanted. MOD, you cannot sit out here. You need to go out back and sit there. Me, well fine then. So I went out back, which is a really small receiving area, boxes stacked as high as the ceiling, but with a tiny spot with a table and a chair. I thought if she wants me to come out here to rest my back from now on, I'll just keep taking more than one 10-minute break. I knew I couldn't stay here. If Dollar Tree didn't give a crud about health issues, regardless how big or small, I'm amazed they're even running. I put up with the place as I look for a new job on Indeed. Of course, this takes months until the GM from Pencils, we'll call it, contacts me and wants to schedule an interview. I take it and go, and soon I had scored a new job. I gave Dollar Tree my 2 weeks, which ended up being 1, and soon I was out of that horrible environment. I've been at Pencils for almost 2 years now, and loving it better there. Best part, it isn't just a single employee and one MOD at night taking care of the store. It's at least one employee per area of the store, sometimes more, and I get along with everyone there. Even the customers are better. Best part, if it's slow, I can sit down so long as I get right back up to assist a customer. I can grab a stool and take care of the sign so I'm not murdering my lower back by standing. Everyone's pretty lenient about things so long as we do our jobs. Even better bonus, Pencils has opportunities for growth and increased pay where Dollar Tree does not. I haven't gone back to that particular store since. Including workers, but still, that sucks, and I'm glad OP got out of that mess. Basic time management and personal responsibility. So until yesterday, about to move city, I worked in a coffee shop and a train station, and although I will miss my colleagues, I am so glad to be away from the idiocy of the general public. If your train is 3 minutes away, don't order a bunch of coffees. If it's just pulling up on the platform, don't order a coffee. If there are a lot of people waiting for their orders and your train is 5 minutes away, don't order a coffee. And if you go ahead and order anyway, that is your own responsibility. We are not magicians. We are limited to the speed of the machine and the steam arm. And rushing us when we are working with scalding water is dangerous for us and is the main cause of burns and injuries. And hey, you're clearly a raging narcissist who doesn't give a dang about my well-being over your cappuccino. But if I'm the only person here and I've scalded my entire hand, then not you nor anyone is getting coffee whilst I go and take care of it. So that's grand. Good going. When you have ordered a coffee, if your train then pulls up, that is your fault. You're the only one who knows when your train is coming. If it's soon, you need to let us know before you pay, so we can tell you, nope. You can't scream at us to hurry up, threaten us, throw a tantrum, and slam your hands on the counter. We are not magic. If you have to board the train without your coffee, it's your own fault. If you missed a train because you chose to wait for your latte, then that is absolutely your own fault. And no, we definitely won't be reimbursing your ticket. Yesterday, I was screamed at by two middle-aged ladies in the middle of a massive rush with the entire cafe bursting to the brim with customers because their train had just pulled up and their two large drinks that they had just ordered 2 minutes ago weren't ready. This occurs multiple times a day, but this time was the last ever time. Good frickin' bye to train stations. TLDR, working at cafe in a train station. Customers constantly order drinks right before their train comes without telling me because they think it is my responsibility if they make their train or not, and that they will be reimbursed. They will not be. Bonus, don't skip the entire line and come straight to me and ask to be served first because you have a train to catch. Mate, this is a train station, so does everyone. It's just that unlike you, they have manners and respect for one another. Get back in your friggin' place. Alright, an aggressive way to end the video. That back pain story reminded me to add r/malicious compliance.